September 22nd, 2025. Here we are, Monday afternoon. And where am I? Back at the Dacha. Yeah, so it's been just over a month since I was here at the Dacha. I was in Canada visiting my mom and my sisters and my friends and cousins. And now I'm back. And I gotta pick some tomatoes that are in the greenhouses here, the ones that are ripe, and I need to pick all the peppers that are out here. The ones that are in the greenhouse, my wife said, no, you don't have to pick them just yet. So that's that. And I don't know, I want to do a little bit of a reflection. This is more of a reflection video, even though I'm going to do a little bit of the work. And what I want to talk about is a summary of my vacation in Canada. So before I move on, I just want to say that my YouTube channel is not political. And I've said it so many times. I don't talk about politics. I have over 500 uploads, and what do I talk about, or what do I do? Well, they're Dacha videos, or I take pictures of what's around the city. I go to restaurants and parties, like birthday parties and whatnot, stuff like that. Celebrations that we have at the end of the year with my colleagues. So, but this time, I am going to get a political, this one time, hopefully. And I want to talk about the politics that is happening, let's say, between what's happening in the war in Ukraine and how it's affecting my friends, family, relatives, acquaintances in Canada. So yeah, so this is basically what this video is going to be about. And of course, I will show my green peppers and jalapenos that I gotta pick. I think we have some jalapenos and the tomatoes. All right, so this is what this video is gonna be about. So I guess first things first, I gotta pick the peppers. Let's turn the camera around. Let's get a close-up and see how the peppers turned out. Well, the peppers turned out pretty good this year, and check this bad boy. Look at that. That is huge. So there are other smaller ones right here. So we got to pick them. Here's one. So there are probably about 10 or 15 that are here. Right there, all along. So we got these light green ones and the dark green ones. Here's some more. So just out of this one area right here, we'll probably get 10 or 15. Let's say the average is about like this, but there are some big ones. So let's start picking. Okay, there it is. Everything is all removed. And this is how many of these light green ones, or if you call them yellow, peppers. And here's the dark green ones. Check out this guy. He's so big. That is so cool. And I'll take this away into the compost. So yeah, there you go. That is done. And of course, got to pick these cherry tomatoes. But I'll probably end up eating them. Why take them home? Nice little snacks. So we have some over here and right over there against the greenhouse. There's also some more. All right, let's keep going. This greenhouse that's full of the tomatoes. Guess I got to pick all the cherry tomatoes here and anything that is ripe. But the ones that are green, we'll still keep them here. So there still is sunshine. And there's still warmth, so why take them off the vine when they can ripen up? All right, let's go ahead and finish this up. The jalapenos that were here, there were 4 vines right here in these pots. Well, I picked them. Let's see, what did I get out of it? I got this much right here, and 1 cucumber that was right over there. So 1 cucumber and some jalapenos. And I still got to go pick some carrots that are over there. All right, there it is. The carrots are picked. And I thought there were going to be more because it looked like there were more, but I guess Victoria and the boys picked them. And there's just a little bit left. That's it right there. Enough for a salad. All right, we're all done. Okay, let's put everything away and I will continue with my little political story that I want to share with you guys. So as I said earlier in my video, my YouTube channel is not political. I've had, what, up to this point, about 545 video uploads, and none of them are political. And if there are any, let me know. Go through all of them. Yet, when I was in Canada, I was getting a lot of feedback that was negative. I had people, and I'm not going to mention any names. Now, if you're watching it and you're in Canada, you know that I'm talking about you. And what it was about is, let's say a person would come up to me and say, your YouTube channel is too political. And I'd say, really? What am I doing wrong? And they'd say, oh, you're glorifying Russia. And I'm like, come on. What am I glorifying Russia? I'm talking about my Dacha, or I'm shoveling snow. I'm doing the drainage system here. I'm making lattices, going shopping and stuff. And they're like, no, no, no. You're talking about everything is pro-Putin. And I'm like, where pro-Putin? They're like, oh, you're showing everything is so glorified and everything is so glamorous. And I'm like, well, I'm just taking out my camera and I'm just showing it the way it is. I take out my camera and I drive to the Dutch and I say, check out the construction. You know, there are cranes all over the city. There are shopping malls going up. There are tons and tons of apartment complexes going up. I'm just showing the way it is. And basically I'm saying the economy in Russia is really good. But as soon as I say that, they're like, no, 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 no. You're trying to say that, everything is just so rosy. Why don't you show the negative side? I'm like, well, I don't have anything negative to show. They're like, oh, because you'll be put in jail or you'll be arrested. And I'm like, no, that's not true. What am I supposed to show that's negative? I don't see it. And if I do, I don't think it's negative. Like, for example, they're saying, oh, there's so many people that are just living, basically hand to mouth. They can't afford to live. And my response to that is, well, I don't see it. And if there is, and I'm sure there is, but not where I live. And they're like, oh, you're talking about, the war is not affecting you. And I say, not really. I go to the supermarkets. The supermarkets are full. I don't feel that my life is being threatened in any way. So for every question that they are giving me, I'm just giving them a response based on my opinion and what I see. Then they're like, oh, well, you should be getting your family back to Canada. My response to that is, I'm fine where I am. I've got a job. I've got a house. I've got a dacha. Everything is good. I would say, yeah, the beer is cold. Everything is fine. So why would I want to bring my family back to Canada? Maybe sometime in the future, I will bring my family back. But for the time, everything is just fine the way it is. Then I get another one. I get this feeling that, they want me to suffer. And I'm not suffering. Maybe there are other people that do suffer in Russia. I don't know. I haven't met them. And everybody that I talk to seems to be having just a normal life. There are also people in Canada that come up to me and they're speaking in second person. So they're not talking that it's coming from them. They're always passing information that somebody told them. For example, like the one where, my political views are very pro-Russia, but I'm not telling you this. Somebody told me this. I'm just telling you. So it's sort of like people are afraid to just speak for themselves. And, I just find that really, really weird that, come on, show some balls and just, man up and say, I think. No, instead, they always want to hide behind somebody that somebody told them. And then when I ask them, I say, well, who is this person? Let me go talk to him. They're like, oh, no, 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 I don't want to bring them into this. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you're talking about them and it's about me. Why don't you tell me who that person is? Let's the three of us sit down. So another thing is when it comes to the politics of the war that's going on in Ukraine. Well, They ask me, what's my view on it? And I say, well, in my opinion, I think what Russia is doing is the right thing. I know you guys are probably going, okay, there's going to be some backlash. Yeah, in the comments down below, you're going to say that I'm brainwashed. But the people that are coming up to me, what they're doing is they're just regurgitating what they watch on CNN or any other television station, whether it's Canadian, American, British, it doesn't matter. Basically, everybody is saying the same thing. And then when they're watching my videos, they're like, well, wait a minute, it contradicts everything. So, for example, there are no toilets in Russia. And I don't know, about 2 years ago, I just happened to be walking through building center like a Home Depot, and I came across, I don't know, I think I counted there were about 35 toilets. And I said, wow, look at all these toilets. So it was basically a response to what people were telling me. And this was, what, 2, 3 years ago. You can scroll back and look at the video and see that it was more of a joke. Or people are saying that my videos that I show of me going through the supermarkets and showing the prices. So I show what the prices are in Russian rubles. And then when I edit, before I put it up onto YouTube, I convert all the prices into Canadian dollars and US dollars. The Canadian dollars for all my Canadian friends, so they know, oh, that's how much it costs in Canadian dollars. And anybody else around the world that has their currency, they can easily convert it to the US dollar. So I show items that I know that can be purchased, let's say in Canada or America. Stuff like Heinz ketchup, Budweiser beer, I don't know, anything that is readily available in a Safeway store, a No Frills store, a Kroger store, whatever it is. And I say, here it is. And yet the response that I get is, well, only the rich people can afford those products. So if only rich people could afford those products, why is it that you look at the average person? I mean, they're not wearing diamond rings and gold watches. No, it's just the average person is going in and saying, okay, I'll get some Heinz ketchup or drink some Budweiser beer or Heineken or whatever it is. So just average people. But the thing is that the purchasing power in Russia is much greater than the purchasing power in, let's say, Canada or America. Yes, we do make less money here. So, for example, if my friends are working and they're making $45 an hour, I'm only making $25 an hour, but that's about half. But when you look at the price of gas or the price of food, it's much, much lower here. So at the end of the day, when you convert it, I'm left with more money after I go shopping than somebody that is back home going shopping for the same products. Taxes are another thing. People are telling me, oh, in Canada, the taxes are, they're bad, but not as bad as in Russia. And I'm like, well, how do you know? They're like, oh, well, I looked it up. I'm like, okay. So in Canada, I have 2 pieces of property. And I'm telling you outright, I paid somewhere around 2,200 Canadian dollars for 2 pieces of property. One's 2.1 acres and the other one's a 9.1. In Russia, we have this dacha and this dacha and our apartment and 3 rental apartments. And total, we pay $250 Canadian a year on taxes. So $250 for 6 pieces of property in Russia, and what, 2,200 for 2 pieces of property in Canada. So right there, everything just gets eroded. So the gains that you're making in Canada go away on your taxes. When it comes to, let's say, my cell phone, monthly service that I pay, the program that I'm on is like $12 Canadian a month. And I get unlimited amount of data on there. I think it's unlimited because I've never run out. And yet in Canada, my friends are paying like $100, $150, $200. So right there again, purchasing power. So even though you're making your $45 an hour, of which you're getting taxed on that, so at the end of the day, you're not making $45 an hour. You're probably making $25 an hour like me. Yet my $25 an hour, of course, I'm being taxed, but it's at a much lower rate. So I'm coming out with around 17. So it's 17 to 25. But when it comes to me going shopping, I can feed my family for somewhere between $80 and $100 a week Canadian. And that's a family of four. So I got two teenage sons, myself and my wife. And in comparison in Canada, I have friends that there are only two of them and they're spending somewhere around $200 or $250 a week. So there you go. There's the four of us between 80 and 120 a week, and they're at about 200, and there's only two of them. I want to go back to the Ukraine conflict. And many friends of mine and relatives and acquaintances that bring up the conversation, I kind of listen to what they have to say. And within a minute, I can figure out how much knowledge they have on the background of this Ukraine conflict. It did not start in February of 2022. It goes much further back. Go back to, let's say, the fall of the Soviet Union. And there was an agreement that was made that NATO would not move eastward. And since 1991, it was moving eastward more and more. And the Russians kept on saying, come on, guys, the Cold War is over. You don't need to put your forces onto the Russian border. So it basically comes all the way to Ukraine. And of course, Ukraine is not part of NATO right now. But, NATO was courting them, and NATO is bringing military equipment into Ukraine. And the Russians are saying, well, wait a minute, this is the same like if Russia was to bring military equipment into Cuba. What happened with the Cuban Missile Crisis? The same thing. Fidel Castro was afraid that the Americans were going to attack Cuba. So he asked Khrushchev, to bring some missiles into Cuba. Well, we almost had World War III. Okay, so, luckily that was averted, and here we are still sitting today. We're not in a nuclear bomb shelter, but yet if the Americans want to bring military forces into Ukraine, oh, well, that's fine. Well, it's a two-way street. Why is it that one side is not allowed and yet the other can be, just free-handedly, here, we're going to put military bases here. Here, we're going to supply you with military equipment. Remember, Russia is not the one that's expanding westward. It's NATO that is expanding eastward, and the Russians are saying, let's stop it right here. So as I'm having this conversation or conversations with people, I kind of probe them. And I ask them and I say, can you tell me who was Stepan Bandera? They're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, tell me about the Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 agreements. I don't know. I'm like, okay, tell me about the negotiations that were in Istanbul in March and April of 2022. What actually happened there? I don't know. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me, well, these people that are talking to me, they're trying to tell me that they know what's going on in Ukraine, yet when you ask them simple questions that are public domain, they absolutely have no clue. And then yet they're telling me that they know what's going on. And I'm like, come on, guys. If you want to sit down and have a political debate with me, at least have some background knowledge on the topic. So I know in a short time, I can't think of many things to talk about, like the politics, because on my YouTube channel, I try to stay away from that. When I'm not on YouTube, when people come up to me, I talk politics all the time. But the platform for this channel is Canadian living in Russia. It's right in there. It's not about politics. So let's stand up here and let's take a look. Okay. I walk around the Dacha here. Okay. I go on road trips. Okay. So before I went to Canada, I went 3,200 kilometers on the Trans-Siberian Highway to Lake Baikal. And, it was just to show that, people are free to travel in Russia wherever you want to go. Get in the car and go. Yet, some people that in Canada that watched this video, they were saying, oh, well, I'm just showing how great Russia is. I'm not showing how great Russia is. I'm just showing that I'm taking my family out on a road trip. So what is wrong with that? Right? It's like anything that I show here, of my life in Russia, they're expecting it to be bad as a negative. And I'm like, well, no, everything is fine. I mean, check this out. We bought this place 3 years ago. No, Putin didn't give us any money. This is not a political thing. We bought it because when I moved here to Russia, I told my wife, I said, I can't live in an apartment all the time. I need to get my hands dirty. So we scoured around for like what, almost 3 months looking for the right dacha, and we found this dacha right here. So we bought this dacha, and the dacha that was right over here, an old lady was living, and or not living, she had it, so she didn't live in here. So she lives in the city. She was just using this little house as a place for storage for her tools and whatnot. Her husband died 2 years previous, so she had to take a bus and a tram and walk the last, what is that, kilometer from the bus stop, which just ends just down the road. So she didn't want it. She approached us and said, why don't you buy my dacha? I'm like, babushka, or grandmother, we already have this dacha over here. We don't need another one. She's like, oh, come on, you have 2 sons. You need to leave something for them. I'm like, okay. So I told her, I said, I don't want to play these games, low ball, high ball. Just give me a fair price. And, if it's the right price, we'll buy it. And we did. She gave us a fair price. So now we have 2. That's not political, right? Or let's say the apartments, which I mentioned earlier. Yes, we do have 3 rental apartments. They're investments. And we did not buy them before I moved to Russia. One of them was my wife's. The other one, the second one was we bought because our children were born in Russia, and it was a government grant that is given when children are born towards purchasing another apartment. Actually, it's one of 3 things. You could either purchase an apartment, you could put this money for retirement. I think it was around $10,000 US, an equivalent. Or the third thing was, put the money in for the kids' college fund. But you cannot flip the apartment. You can't say, okay, I get the 10,000, get an apartment, and then turn around and sell it. No, you would have to keep it until your youngest child is, I think, 18 years old. So we're like, yeah, okay. So we took advantage of that, and we bought an apartment, and we paid it out. So now we had the second one. And then the third one in 2018 came from Korea to Russia, and it was, I think, around February 2018. And as my wife and I were walking around the city, I saw all these construction cranes of apartments going up, and I'm like, wow, the economy is going really good. Let's buy an apartment before the prices go up. So we did. Our intention was not to live in Russia. Our intentions were to have an investment or investments in Russia. Well, as it turned out, now I'm living in Russia. Those apartments are paid out, and they offer us monthly income. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the same as if anybody in Canada or America had a rental property. But yet, when I do it in Russia, it's bad. I just can't figure that one out. We are not rich by any stretch of any imagination. We are not. So, we work. My wife and I both work. We don't spend our money, on stuff that I think is useless, like buying a Mercedes Benz, which we probably could, and then end up paying for it for 7 years or 10 years or whatever when it depreciates every day. Instead, buy a Dacha. This thing was run down. Now, if you guys were following me right from the beginning, you will see what this place looked like. This area right over here. There was a garden here, and there were gradki, the raised beds. So I've been leveling everything. So a lot of, like they say, blood, sweat, and tears, elbow grease. So like that area right over there, that was all raised beds. And how much metal I pulled out. What was it? Two 3-ton pickup trucks loaded with garbage of just metal and aluminum and linoleum. There was even linoleum in the ground here. All that went into the garbage. So now, yeah, we're making it look much better, and it's a work in progress. Every single year, we just keep making it better and better. Yet somehow this turns into a political issue, so that when I return home every summer, people are saying, oh yeah, you're glorifying how great it is in Russia. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just showing what I'm doing in Russia, that life is fine. And if you work hard, you can achieve it. So I'm not sitting around on a $40,000 Harley Davidson driving around, or a $30,000 boat going fishing and going, nothing's happening. Okay, yeah, I mean, if you like riding a Harley Davidson or a boat or camping, that's fine. That's your pleasure. My pleasure is right here at the Dacha. I grew up this way in Canada. So now that I'm here in Russia, I'm just basically recreating my life in Canada, or the way it was in Canada to the way it is here in Russia now. And somehow it's politicized. So I just don't get it. Anyways, I think that's it for now. Like I said, my YouTube channel, I'm going to say it, the third, fourth, fifth time, whatever it is, it's not political. So for those people that are saying, I'm trying to glorify Russia by posting my YouTube channels that is pro-Putin, wherever it is, go back and find it, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Tell me, say, hey, in this video right here, you said, that, oh, Russia is great. I'm not saying that. All I'm showing is that this is what life is like out here. Let me live my own life, Anyways, I think that's about it. Okay, so this video is a little bit longer than I thought it would be, and I apologize if I made you sit through it and have me pick my tomatoes and carrots and peppers, but I had to do what I had to do. I had to get the work done first before I could sit down and have my little political rant. And like I say, I am not going to continue to post any political videos. I mean, this is one exception. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment. I do reply to everybody. And smash the like button if you liked it. And share it with your friends. Let them know that, here's the funny thing. You can achieve the Canadian dream by living in Russia. How awkward that is, but that's the way it is. Oh, and one more thing. This is just my take on it. Right now, what's happening in the world, and the way I see it is the US and Canada are like the way the Soviet Union was in the late 70s to the 80s, to right up to the end of the 80s, okay, economically. And, there's stagnation, inflation is going up, political problems, left and right. So it doesn't matter who is getting elected. It's the same whether you're a Republican or Democrat. We're going down the same rabbit hole all the time. And Russia today seems to be like the way the US and Canada were in the 70s and into the 80s. You have people who are optimistic. Life is good. Life is getting better. You ask anybody and you say, what was your life like 20 years ago in Russia compared to today? And almost everybody will say, oh, today is so much better. We travel, we go here, we go there. We have 2 vehicles, and 30 years ago or 40 years ago, you had to wait 7 years for a car or whatever. So things to me seem turned around. Every time I hear it, it's sort of like it's taking me back to my thoughts of Canada and America is the Soviet Union of the 70s and 80s, and Russia today is like Canada, US of the 70s and 80s. So things seem to be flipping. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I look at it. Okay, I gotta go. Take care, and like I always say at the end of my videos, пока-пока.